rain hammered Sarah's cardboard bed like it wanted to punish her for existing. She curled tighter, her burgundy uniform soaked through, the white apron plastered to her chest like a shroud. Her head rested on a pillow that smelled of mildew and yesterday's tears. A plastic water bottle rolled against her cheek, cold and hard. A hand touched her shoulder. Sarah's eyes snapped open. Her hand flew to the pepper spray in her apron pocket. She'd learned that move in her first week on the streets. But the man crouching over her wasn't a thief. He wore a gray suit that cost more than her last year's rent. His silver watch caught the streetlight. His face was weathered, late 40s, with eyes that looked like they'd seen their share of ghosts. "Don't scream," he said. His voice was gravel and authority. "I'm not here to hurt you." Sarah's fingers didn't leave the pepper spray. "Then get your hand off me." He pulled back, raised both palms. "My name is David Stone. I own this building." "Congratulations. I also own the building you work in, the one where you're supposed to have staff housing." Sarah's breath caught. She worked at the Stone Industries Tower 3 blocks over, cleaned offices on the 47th floor. Mark Stone, David's brother, managed the properties. He'd promised her a room in the staff quarters. Then he'd laughed when she asked for the key. "Budget cuts," he'd said. "Sleep in your car like everyone else." David saw the recognition in her eyes. "Mark's been pocketing the housing allowance for 3 years. I just found out. Not my problem." "It is now." He stood. Rain dripped from his hair. "Get up. You're coming with me." Sarah didn't move. "Why? So you can feel better about your scumbag brother?" David's jaw tightened. "No, so I can fix this, and so you can help me bury him." Before we dive in, drop your city in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story like this. Now, let's continue. Sarah's mother taught her never to trust rich men. "They'll use you up and spit you out, baby girl. They see people like us as furniture, something to sit on until we're worn out." But Sarah's mother was dying in a hospice in Compton. The bills were $4,200 a month. Sarah's cleaning job paid $11 an hour. Mark Stone had promised her $18,900. Then he'd forgotten to update payroll. So when David Stone opened the door to his penthouse, Sarah walked through. Her wet shoes left prints on marble floors that probably cost more than her mother's life. David threw her a towel. "Shower, I'll get you something dry." The bathroom had a waterfall shower head and heated floors. Sarah stood under scalding water until her skin turned red. She thought about leaving, about running, but her car had been repossessed. Her bank account had $23.47. Where would she go? When she came out, David handed her a glass of whiskey. "Drink." "I don't drink." She drank. It burned sweet, burned like truth. "Mark's been embezzling for years," David said, staring at the LA skyline. The city lights stretched forever, like fallen stars. Small amounts, staff housing, overtime pay, benefits. "He thinks I won't notice, but I notice everything." "Why do you care?" "Because my name's on the company. Because when this breaks, it'll break big. And because," he paused, his voice dropped, "because my mother was a maid. Before my father married her." Sarah's glass stopped halfway to her lips. "She died when I was 12. My father remarried within a year. Mark's mother. She made sure I never forgot where I came from." He turned to Sarah. "Mark's been running the properties like his personal kingdom, treating staff like serfs. I needed proof. Then my security chief shows me footage of you, sleeping on cardboard, in the rain, while my brother sleeps in a $10 million mansion." Sarah's mind raced. This was her opening, her chance. "He docks our pay for housing, but the staff quarters are full of black mold. One girl, Maria, has asthma. She almost died last month. He told her to sleep outside or quit." David's knuckles went white around his glass. "Names. She gave them, all of them. The stories poured out like poison. James, the gardener, 72 years old, sleeping in a tool shed. The pregnant housekeeper, Elena, forced to lift heavy furniture. The overtime that never got paid. The threats, the fear. The way Mark would stand too close, his breath hot on their necks, reminding them they were replaceable. David listened. He didn't interrupt. His silence was worse than shouting. At 3 a.m., he said, "You're not going back. I need that job." "No." He turned to her. His eyes were gray steel. "You're going to marry me." The words hung in the air like a gunshot. Sarah laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "Right, because that makes perfect sense. Mark controls the family trust. He manages the estates, but he answers to me. If you're my wife, you're untouchable. You can gather every piece of evidence you need. I'll protect you. And what do you get? A weapon against my brother, and..." He paused. His voice dropped. "Someone who isn't afraid to tell me I'm a bastard." Sarah studied his face. No smirk, no manipulation, just exhaustion and something else. Loneliness, so deep it had its own gravity. "One condition," she said. "This is a partnership, not a real marriage. I don't play trophy wife." "Deal." They were married 48 hours later. City Hall, no guests. David's lawyer witnessed, his face carefully neutral. Sarah signed a prenup that gave her nothing if they divorced within 5 years. She didn't care. She wasn't in this for money. She was in it for justice. The first month was a war. Mark was furious. He called her a gold digger, a whore. He tried to fire the entire staff. David stopped him. They fought in the study, voices echoing through the mansion like thunder. "She's using you," Mark screamed. "She's showing me who you really are," David shot back. Sarah recorded everything, hidden cameras in her bracelet, voice memos on a burner phone. She documented Mark's tantrums, his threats, his admissions of guilt. She interviewed the staff in secret. Maria, who could barely breathe some days. James, whose arthritis made him cry at night. Elena, who miscarried after lifting a marble statue Mark insisted had to be moved immediately. But something shifted. David started coming home early. He'd find her in the kitchen, making coffee. They'd talk about her mother, about his father, who built the empire on ruthless ambition and other people's backs, about the weight of names you didn't choose. One night, he showed her a photo, a young woman with Sarah's eyes and a smile that could light up rooms. "My mother," he said, "she was a maid before my father married her." Sarah's breath caught. "What happened to her?" "She died when I was 12. Brain aneurysm, quick. My father remarried within a year. Mark's mother. She made sure I never forgot where I came from." He touched Sarah's face. Just once. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "You have her eyes." She should have pulled away, should have remembered the plan. But his grief was real, and so was hers. They made love that night. Slow, desperate. Two people drowning, holding each other underwater. After, he held her like she might disappear. She let him. She told herself it was part of the act. It wasn't. The twist came on a Tuesday. Mark burst into the penthouse waving a file. "You think you're so smart? You think you found the perfect pawn?" David stood up from his desk. "Get out. Not until she tells you who she really is." Mark threw the file at Sarah's feet. Photos spilled out. Her real name, her journalism degree, her bylines. Articles about worker exploitation. A photo of her mother, younger, standing next to a Stone Industries logo. Sarah's blood turned to ice. "She's been playing you from day one," Mark sneered. "She's not some poor maid. She's a reporter, or was, until she got fired for making up sources." David picked up a photo, stared at it. His face gave nothing away. "Is it true?" he asked. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. Sarah's mind raced. Deny? Confess? Run? "Yes," she said. Her voice shook. "Every word." The silence stretched. Mark smiled, triumphant, but David didn't look at her. He looked at his brother. "You knew. You knew who she was when you hired her?" Mark's smile faltered. "What? Her mother worked for us 20 years ago. You were the one who fired her. You were the one who denied her medical benefits. You thought I wouldn't remember, but I do." He turned to Sarah. "And you. You thought you could deceive me, use me. Stop." He held up a hand. "I knew who you were the night I found you. My security team ran your background check before you even stepped foot in my car. I let you think you were undercover because I needed your evidence against Mark. But I also needed—" He stopped. His mask cracked. "I needed someone real, even if it was a lie." The room tilted. Sarah grabbed the back of a chair. "You knew. Your mother was my mother's best friend," David said. His voice was raw. "They worked together. When my father found out my mother was pregnant with me, he fired your mother, said he wouldn't have that kind of influence around his son. My mother fought for her, begged, pleaded. He beat her so badly she lost the baby. A twin. I was supposed to have a twin." Sarah's legs gave out. She sat hard on the floor. "Your mother left, changed her name, tried to protect you from this world. But Mark found her file last year. He hired you to get to me, to prove I'd fall for the help, to make me look weak. He didn't know I already knew." Mark's face had gone white. "David, Get out of my house. Get out of my company. You're done." Mark lunged, not at David, at Sarah. His hands went for her throat. David moved faster. He caught his brother's wrist, twisted it hard. Mark screamed. David's other hand delivered a punch that dropped Mark to his knees. Blood poured from his nose. "Security!" David shouted. 2 men appeared. "Escort him out. He doesn't come back." They dragged Mark away. His screams echoed in the marble hallway. David helped Sarah up. His hands were gentle. "I'm sorry. I should have told you." "Why didn't you?" "Because you needed to hate me, to use me, to be strong enough to take Mark down." He touched her face. "And because I was afraid if you knew I knew, you'd leave." Sarah looked at this man, this billionaire who'd slept in his office for 20 years, who'd built an empire to prove he was more than his father's bastard, who'd married a maid to save his soul. "My mother," she whispered. "She's dying." "I know. I moved her to Cedars-Sinai. Best care, private room." "She's been there for 3 weeks." Sarah's tears came then, hot and angry and grateful. "You bastard?" "Yes," he agreed. "But I'm your bastard." They stood there in the wreckage of their lies and laughed. It was the first honest sound either had made in years. 6 months later, Sarah's mother sat in a wheelchair on the balcony of David's penthouse. Her hair had grown back. Her eyes were clear. She held Sarah's hand. "You married him for real," her mother said. Not a question. "I did." "Good." She squeezed Sarah's fingers. "He needs someone who'll tell him when he's being an idiot." David came out with coffee. He kissed Sarah's forehead. "Your mother's teaching me her secret pancake recipe. She's trying to fatten you up." "She says I'm too skinny for a billionaire." Sarah's mother smiled. "You are." That night, David brushed Sarah's hair. 100 strokes, just like he'd learned from his mother's diary. Sarah let him. She watched their reflection in the dark window. A billionaire and a maid, a lie that became truth. "David," she said, "Thank you for seeing me." He stopped brushing, met her eyes in the glass. "Thank you for letting me." If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. Subscribe to Emotional Stories channel for more amazing, heartfelt stories that will make you cry, make you smile, and remind you what really matters. We post new powerful stories every day. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And remember, always be kind. You never know who needs it. The staff quarters reopened 3 months after Mark's departure. David hired a team to gut the building. They tore out the black mold, replaced the plumbing, installed new windows, added a kitchen with restaurant-grade appliances, created a lounge with comfortable furniture, and a TV that actually worked. Maria was the first to move in. She stood in her new room, tears streaming down her face. The room had a real bed, a desk, a closet, windows that let in light. It was bigger than the apartment she'd shared with 3 other families back in El Salvador. "Is this really mine?" she asked Sarah. "It's really yours." Maria collapsed onto the bed and cried. Sarah sat beside her, holding her hand. They didn't need words. James moved in next. He walked through his room 3 times, touching everything. The bed, the dresser, the bathroom with grab bars installed for his arthritis. He turned to David, who'd insisted on helping with the move-ins personally. Sir, I don't know how to thank you. Call me David, and you don't need to thank me. This is what should have been done years ago. Elena, 8 months pregnant now, got a ground floor unit with extra space for the baby. Sarah helped her decorate. They painted the walls a soft yellow, hung curtains, built a crib that David had ordered from some fancy baby store. He's going to be born free, Elena said, her hands on her belly. Born into a world where his mother has a home. David instituted new policies: fair wages, overtime pay, health insurance, 2 weeks paid vacation, a grievance process that actually worked. He hired an independent HR director who answered only to him. The changes spread beyond the staff quarters. Word got out. Other billionaires called David, asking how he managed to keep staff happy. He told them the truth. Pay them fairly. Treat them like human beings. It's not complicated. Some listened, most didn't. Sarah started a foundation, the Grace Foundation, named after her mother. It provided housing assistance to workers who'd been exploited, legal aid, medical care, job training. David funded it entirely, $50 million to start. It's not enough, Sarah said. Then we'll give more. Her mother's health improved dramatically with proper care. The cancer went into remission. She gained weight. Her laughter returned. She moved into the penthouse with them. David converted a guest suite into her own apartment. Private entrance, full kitchen, space to paint. She'd always wanted to paint. One Sunday, Sarah found her mother and David in the kitchen together. Grace was teaching him to make biscuits. His hands were covered in flour. He was laughing at something she said. "You're getting it," Grace said. "Just like that. Your mother would be proud." David's smile faded. "You really think so?" "I know so. She loved you so much, David. She talked about you all the time, about how smart you were, how kind, how you'd change the world. I didn't know you knew her that well. We were best friends. We planned to open a restaurant together someday, the two of us and our families. We had it all figured out." "What happened?" "Your father happened. Mine too. Rich men who saw us as property." Grace touched his cheek. Flour smudged his face. "But you're not like them. You're like your mother. All heart." David's eyes filled with tears. He turned away, wiping them quickly. Sarah watched from the doorway. Her husband and her mother, two people who'd been broken by the same system, healing each other with flour and laughter. The legal case against Mark took 8 months. David's lawyers built an airtight case: embezzlement, fraud, labor law violations. The evidence Sarah had gathered was the backbone. The testimonies from staff members were the nails in the coffin. Mark tried to fight. He hired the best lawyers money could buy. He leaked stories to the press about David's inappropriate relationship with staff. He tried to turn the family board against David. It didn't work. The board sided with David unanimously. Even the members who'd been Mark's friends saw the numbers, saw the evidence, saw the truth. Mark got 7 years, minimum security, because he was rich and white and had good lawyers. But it was still prison, still a cage. David visited him once, just once. "Why?" Mark asked through the glass partition. "Why did you do this?" "Because someone had to," David said. "Because mother would have wanted me to. Because it was right. We're brothers." "No, we shared a father, that's all." David stood up. He never went back. A year after their wedding, David and Sarah renewed their vows. This time it was real. No prenup, no conditions, no lies. The ceremony was small. The staff. Grace, David's mother's sister, who Sarah had tracked down living in Oregon. A few of David's college friends who'd stuck by him. They got married in the garden behind the mansion. The same garden where David's mother used to walk, pushing his stroller, where she'd sung to him, where she'd dreamed of a better future. Grace walked Sarah down the aisle. She wore a lavender dress that made her look 10 years younger. Her hand was steady on Sarah's arm. "Your father would be proud," she whispered. "He died when I was 3. "I know, but he'd still be proud." David waited at the altar, tears already streaming down his face. He didn't try to hide them. When Sarah reached him, he took her hands. They were shaking. "I'm terrified," he whispered. "Me too." "Good. We can be terrified together." They wrote their own vows. David went first. Sarah, you saved my life. Not because you married me, not because you helped me take down Mark, but because you saw me, really saw me. Not the money, not the name, just me. The kid whose mother died, the man who forgot how to feel. You reminded me what it means to be human. I promise to see you every day, to hear you, to love you. Even when you're being difficult. Especially when I'm being difficult, Sarah corrected. Especially then. Sarah's turn. David, I came into your life planning to use you, to expose you, to tear down everything you built. Instead, you tore down my walls. You showed me that not all rich men are heartless, that money doesn't have to corrupt, that love can grow in the strangest places. I promise to keep you honest, to call you out when you're wrong, to hold you when you're scared, and to love you. God help me, I love you. They kissed. Everyone cheered. Maria threw rice. James played guitar. Who knew he could play? Grace cried happy tears into tissues Sarah had stuffed in her bouquet. That night in their bedroom, David brushed Sarah's hair. 100 strokes, their ritual. What are you thinking? She asked. That I'm the luckiest man alive. You're a billionaire. Luck had nothing to do with it. Wrong, I have money. That's not luck. That's work. But finding you? That was pure luck. Divine intervention. Whatever you want to call it. Sarah turned to face him. She took the brush from his hands. Let me. She brushed his hair. It was shorter, but she still counted. 100 strokes. What are you doing? He asked. What you do for me. What your mother did for you. Love. In strokes. 2 years later, Sarah held their daughter in her arms. Emma Grace Stone. Born at sunrise. 8 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect. David cried when he saw her. Not quiet tears, full sobs. He held his daughter like she was made of glass. She has your eyes, he whispered to Sarah. She has your mother's eyes. Same thing. Grace held her granddaughter, rocking her gently. Your mothers would be so proud, she said to David and Sarah. Both of them. The staff threw a surprise baby shower. They'd all chipped in, bought clothes, toys, a handmade quilt with everyone's name embroidered on it. Maria had organized everything. Your family, she said simply. This is what family does. Sarah looked around the room. At these people who'd been invisible a few years ago. Now they were laughing, celebrating, living. David stood behind her, his arms around her waist. We did good, he whispered. We did. Emma grew up in the mansion, but she didn't grow up spoiled. Sarah and David made sure of that. She had chores, responsibilities. She played with the staff's children. She learned to cook from Maria, learned to garden from James, learned to paint from Grace. When she was 5, she asked Sarah, Mama, why do some people have so much and others so little? Sarah looked at David. He nodded. Because some people forget that money is supposed to help others, not just themselves, Sarah said. Your daddy used to forget. Then he remembered. And now it's our job to help other people remember too. How? By being kind, by sharing, by seeing people. Emma thought about this. Like you saw Daddy? Exactly like that. 10 years after their first wedding, David and Sarah stood on the balcony of their penthouse. The city lights spread out below them like stars. Grace had passed away peacefully 6 months earlier, painting in her studio. She died doing what she loved. Do you think she's proud of us? Sarah asked. I know she is. I miss her. Me too. They stood in comfortable silence. Emma was at a sleepover. The house was quiet, peaceful. David, thank you. For what? For seeing me on that cardboard box, for not walking past, for stopping. He turned to her, touched her face the way he had that first night. Thank you for letting me see you, for trusting me, for loving me anyway. Anyway, despite everything, despite my name, my money, my baggage. Your baggage made you who you are. I love your baggage. He laughed, really laughed. The sound filled the night. Somewhere in the city, another person slept on cardboard. Another worker was being exploited. Another child went to bed hungry. But in the stone mansion, the lights stayed on. The doors stayed unlocked. Help was always available. Because Sarah and David remembered what it felt like to be invisible, to be used, to be discarded, and they'd sworn to never forget. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. Subscribe to Emotional Stories channel for more amazing, heartfelt stories that will make you cry, make you smile, and remind you what really matters. We post new powerful stories every day. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And remember, always be kind. You never know who needs it.